Hey viewers, George here to do a first impression. Now, when I started the first impression stuff, I obviously went in expecting, I'm going to be playing probably a few bad games and saying, these aren't really worth it. The hype wasn't up for it. But overall, so far, since I started it earlier this year, back in January, I really haven't had a major problem with any of the games I've played and did a first impression of that I can recall. Until now. There always has to be one, just to ruin the party, ruin the fun of everything. And in this case, hold on, in this case, the game is called Chronica. I think I'm pronouncing it Chronica. You see the title of it. This is on the PlayStation 3. And you can get off the network, but I'll tell you why not to. So, this came out, I think, last week from this video. Today's the 12th, apparently, so, do the math, because I don't feel like it. So this came out, whatever, and, I was like, oh, it's a platformer, it looks a little interesting, and I haven't really gotten around to playing until now, today, so I go to play it. And at first I'm like, oh, this looks really cool. It's a platformer, you go into this other mode to assemble words together so you can use, like, attacks and stuff like that. Or at least I thought it was attacks to begin with. And, that's the gist of the game. You're going through, like, these different stories to get rid of the bad guy. So I'm playing it, and I'm like, okay. So I'm playing on, going along these levels, and you can double jump. And then I got to the point where I couldn't double jump. And I'm like, wait, why can't I double jump? So, I'm going through this game where it is essentially required that you can double jump. And I find out about maybe half an hour later that in order to sustain some double jump abilities, you have to continuously create words. So not only do you need to create words for spells, you have to create words for double jumping. Now, that doesn't sound like a huge problem, which it isn't, but let's just say you were just going along and you happen to just, jump, and you try to jump over some spikes, and you find out you can't double jump, and guess what happens? You drop on the spikes. And here's the thing, it doesn't tell you when you can't double jump. It doesn't tell you, like, oh, you can no longer use this. Or you don't have any ammo. It doesn't tell you that. You have to actually look and see it. And all you get is, like, at the bottom you have, like, some hub stuff. And that's all you get. You get, like, this stuff at the bottom of the hub that has your life bar, which runs out rather quickly, but you get penalized, like, in points, so it doesn't really matter. And then off to the side of that you have, like, some ammo, like your different spells you can use, and off the other side it shows you your abilities, and if it's not colored in, then you can't use it. And the symbol they use for jumping around and whatnot is like a boot. It's a small little boot. It's darkly colored, so if you do run out, you don't even notice it, and it doesn't even tell you that that's the case. So that's like a huge problem right off the bat, because you could just be going along not even knowing that you run out of your jumping abilities, and you can just try and jump over a pit or something like that and fall in it because you didn't know you can't double jump, sorry. Next to that, the game's really bland and boring. There's nothing fun or interesting about it. The in-game models look really bad, especially when they're up close and they're talking, and there's like the text dialogue. They even look worse there. The only time the game looks nice is during cutscenes, where they're like hand-drawn, sort of looking-ish stuff. That's when it looks nice, and the game isn't like that the entire way, which is very unfortunate. The mechanic of using words and whatnot to gain spells is really interesting. It has that bit of a Scrabble feel to it, mixing it in with a platformer. But I'll get this controller here. In order to enter into the Scrabble mode, which they call the page world, which makes even less sense. It confuses the crap out of me when it's explaining these things. What you do is you hold down the L1 button, right? And that opens up the page world. And you have to keep it held down. You can switch in the options, but they don't tell you that either. And using the right stick, you pull this cursor around, and you have to select words and whatnot, and you create them. And the longer they are, the more you get from it. But they don't give you a lot of letters to work with, so you're going to be spelling out some really simple stuff like cat, dog, male. Riot apparently is not a word. So I was a little disappointed with that. But it seems like they deliberately place certain letters there, because there's also like special letters, much like in Scrabble, how like the harder to use letters give you more points. In this one, the harder to use letters give you more special stuff to it. So like you'll see like a Z or a Y there, and you're looking around to see if you can, fit those into some sort of word so you can get more out of it. And rarely will you ever be able to. The game is just deliberately set up so you can only spell out like certain words that they want you to spell. So it's really weird like that. I've never had an instance where I couldn't spell a word. And if you're like, oh, you want to, I'll just save that Z for later. No, if you spell a word out and you've accepted it, that gets cleared. They give you a bunch of different scrambled letters, and they're also jumping around. So you're being timed. You have like 10 minutes to complete each level, which is more than enough by me if you're trying to create some of these words. And I could probably see that getting like really hectic in later levels where you need every goddamn second to get through the fucking game. This game just feels such a mess. Other than that, the music's boring and it's bland. It's $11 plus tax. So for that price in this game, there's potential. There's so much potential with this game, but the people who are making this clearly didn't take the potential of it. And also, like, a game like this doesn't really work too well for a PlayStation where you're controller based. It makes more sense if they would have put it on like the Wii U, where it has the tablet, or the 3DS, where you can use the touchscreen and whatnot, instead of going around using a cursor to fucking select letters. It's just so stupid. But yeah, overall, this game's just really boring, and I'm really disappointed. So, Page Chronica. Just don't. If you're curious about, don't. Don't. Just leave it alone. Let it rot off to the side. I mean, if you can get this for really, really cheap, like, the PSN, or sorry, the PlayStation members, if they get it for like $1 or $2, then there might be, you won't feel as bad as buying it, but at its current price, don't. It's terrible. Yeah, so that's all I have to say about that game. It's just really utter crap. It's so much potential loss just because it fails to do some simple things, like at least giving you some notification. I would have probably not complained so much about this game, but like I said, you might like double jumping is such like an essential to the game. The game's mechanics like require you to be able to double jump, so the fact that it doesn't tell you when you've run out of the ability is really stupid. Because it'll leave you a lot of times, falling down cliffs and whatnot, and then you'll go back to the last checkpoint, which who knows how far ago that might have been. And it might seem like they're frequent, but I mean, like, on top of the game's really bland and boring, you don't want to go through it any more than you need to. But, enemies. One more thing. The placements of enemies are so fucking cheap, too. Like, they're early on, like, really early on, after the tutorial, the first level, there's this bit where there's this cliff, right? And you go onto like this platform that slowly rises up, and you have to ride up. And right there, the cliff, the edge of the cliff. This is where the edge is. You're coming up on this edge. Enemy is right stuck in there. And you want to know what this enemy does? It blows fire. The meat, once you enter its vicinity. So you're going to have to get hit a lot of the times. They set it up in a way where you have to get hit, or you have to... No, you have to get hit. There's nothing else you can do, and if you can't double jump, you're even fucked, because then you get hit twice because you land on the goddamn enemy. Ugh. The game's stupid. Don't buy it. Leave it alone. Let it rot in PSN hell there, and never speak of it again. Just don't. Until next time, keep on gaming, especially on better games. That isn't Page Chronica.